Welcome to today's video where I am going to be discussing what I feel like is a problem with modern sport card prices and kind of expressing how I feel speculation has ruined, inflated, I don't even know what else to say, but just overpriced these modern cards and modern players. And I'm going to be using an example that's a little close to home, and that is Mets catcher. So let's get this started. Right here, we are looking at a 1992 Bowman in-person autograph Mike Piazza. So back then, when Mike Piazza was a rookie, they did not have autographed cards in packs. The only autographs you can have of this rookie card are ones that you've gotten in person, outside a hotel, at a show, things like that. There's two sales that we have to go off on: PSA Auto 10 for 150 and a nice BGS that did about 180. So we can assume, and I think very fairly say, that this card, a Mike Piazza signed rookie card, is about $150 to $200. The other card we're going to be comparing it to is, if you're familiar with the Mets' current catcher, Francisco Álvarez rookie autographs. Bowman. So obviously 2020, there are autographs in packs, and we're just going to be scrolling down talking about some examples. So the first one I want to talk about is this raw one right here, selling for $250. I guess it makes sense only because the price of a 10 is twice this. So if this did grade a 10, you would be definitely making money. And that's not what I'm arguing. I'm just arguing why the prices are this high, I guess, for what reason besides speculation and kind of the fact, which I'm going to get to later, which I don't agree with that being a probable cause, or like, I don't agree that speculation is the reason for this. So my kind of question is, if anybody wants to comment, drop their opinions, let me know how you feel, like telling me why this card should be twice as much, in some cases way more, depending on the parallel, stuff like this. I'm not even talking about that today. We're going to talk about the base raw. I like to talk about the raw, but we are going to talk about graded base examples. For example, right here, PSA 10, $500. PSA 9, this is the one that I really want to look at. But again, so we can assume that a PSA 10 base rookie is $500. That seems pretty fair. $400 to $500. Again, at least twice the Mike Piazza, which we're valuing on the high end at $200. The Alvarez 10 low end is $400. I like to find another 9. Awesome. Right here. Dual service 9, $200. So that's what I'm kind of comparing. The PSA 9 and the Mike Piazza. So those are the two main cards. So here we're gonna head over to the pop count. This is the PSA DNA certified Mike Piazza. So on PSA, there are 114 slabbed up Mikey P rookie autos. And again, I always like to bump those number up. Let's call it 200 with SGC, BGS. I would even think it could be less. I think it realistically could be like 150, but I want to pump those numbers up. But let's give it a range. Let's say 150 to 200. And again, I do know that there's other brands of Piazza rookies that also could be autographed. Again, we're just kind of using the Bowman versus the Bowman Chrome as an example today. But again, my argument to that would be there is going to be plenty of other Francisco Alvarez rookie autographs, 100% more than Mike Piazza. So I don't really think that's a good argument, but if you do feel like it is, let me know. So again, 150 to 292 Bowman Mike Piazza autographs. Now we're heading over to the 2020 Bowman pop. This is Francisco Alvarez. Total pop on the base is 200, 9 being 60, 10 being 128. Again, that 9 is about the same price. It's about half the total pop, a little less than that. But the total pop with the 10s being worth twice as much is higher than I believe to be the total amount of Mike Piazza signed 92 Bowman cards. Not to mention, which I am going to mention, but not really even factoring in that there is 170 other parallel graded autographs only with PSA, again, assuming that there's at least 200 other paralleled autographs. And you can kind of actually add these up. I mean, that's 150. This is to 150, and there's only 25 graded. So whether they're packed, whether they're raw, there's still a lot more gold 50. Again, there's 5 times more of these. There's 5 times more of these. There's 9. So this is a low kind of graded card in terms to how many there actually are. Again, green shimmers to 99. There's only 8 graded. So there's a lot more that's not here. And again, this is 170 individual parallel graded cards. So that puts the total pop above 300, above 350 with a created, pop of, I didn't even do the math on because I don't really want to factor that in too much. But again, we're talking about 200 base cards graded. We're talking about the 10. Does the 9s do about 200, which is the same as the Mike Piazza, and the 10s do twice as much, kind of 4 to 500, which is also crazy how these two end on the same day with the same consigner, and it sells for for that big of a difference. But whatever, I guess look at the strength of the autograph maybe. This auto looks a little bigger, but this one honestly looks a little better. So who knows? I mean, that's crazy. That's its own video right there, maybe, but probably not. So again, these are just my 2 examples. The last thing I want to talk about is why I believe, I guess, that the speculation is not a good reason for this card being twice as much. And that's because here is what Mike Piazza did in his career. And when it's all said and done, again, I should preface the video by saying these are all long-term price like examples. I'm always thinking about the long-term investment kind of value of the card. So that's why I want to talk Mike Piazza's career is over. Which means that the speculation stuff that can happen to increase the demand dramatically goes down because he is no longer playing and is no longer to do anything on the field. But he's done many, many things off the field, not only for like charities and stuff, but just as recently as coaching Italy in the World Baseball Classic. Like Mike Piazza is still very relevant when it comes to baseball, the game, the Mets, MLB, stuff like that. So anyways, these are his stats. He's obviously a Hall of Famer. So here's the first thing. If you are buying those cards, you have to believe, and you think the value is going to increase long term, you have to believe that Francisco Álvarez is a Hall of Famer, which, no disrespect to him, I'm a diehard Mets fan. He is not. He will not be a Hall of Famer. If he is, you can clip this video. I will absolutely make a whole video apologizing to him 10, 15 years down the line. Francisco Álvarez is not going to be a Hall of Famer. So he definitely could win Rookie of the Year. Throw that out. But so we'll leave that up to debate. I do think it's possible that Alvarez could win Rookie of the Year, or at least have a Rookie of the year, which he's having so far. 12-time All-Star. First year, Alvarez was not an All-Star. So he now has to basically be an All-Star every year of his career if you think he's going to play in the leagues for another 15 years, which again is possible because I do believe he's only 22, maybe even 21. No older than 23. So there's a chance that he plays 12 more seasons. Again, 10-time Silver Slugger. It's possible that Alvarez notches a couple of these as well. And I'm not saying he's not going to get multiple All-Stars. He does seem like an incredible player. And all I've heard from the announcers, from, inside media and stuff like that, coaches, is that he is awesome. And I really hope that he does good. But I'm just saying factually that these stats at the price of a finished career player like Mike Piazza is half the price of the current player Alvarez. And that's what I'm saying. What are you projecting that he could actually do in his career in order to not only just keep the value of being twice as much as arguably the best Mets catcher, in the franchise history? People might say Gary Carter, some old heads might throw Jerry Grody in there, but I do think Mike Piazza would be a good comparison. That's why I used him. But also just to say, like, technically on paper, if you're just talking about stats translating to the price of the card, because I do believe that's kind of how it works in the long term, or at least that's way more of a factor than speculation. But he would have to be a 24-time All-Star and a 20-time Silver Slugger, as well as winning not maybe just an All-Star game MVP, but a for real, a serious MVP. And I do think if he did win a National League MVP, that would give a reason for his prices to maybe be, higher than Mike Piazza. But I'm just saying, looking at it right now, Mike Piazza was an All-Star in 6 out of his 8 years when he got traded over here. So I'm not going to count this. 6 out of his 7 full years as a Metropolitan. I just I just don't see Alvarez hitting this clip. I really don't. Having a lifetime batting average over 300, hitting over 400 home runs, I could believe is possible if he has a really long career, of 10 plus years, of 15 years. I do think it's possible that he could hit close to 400. But I mean, I just don't think these numbers. Again, I'm happy to put this out there. And honestly, I'd be happy to be wrong because that means I have a generational player on my baseball team that I'm a fan of. I'm not going to make money from his cards. I guess my final point, my selling point for this whole thing is that even if, and I guess it sounds so obvious to say, but I'm so unsure why the prices don't reflect it. But even if Francisco Alvarez had the same career as Mike Piazza, which would be incredible. That would be the best case scenario for Mets fans. If he was a Met his whole life, not switching teams, we get a decade. He would, I would believe, become the most popular catcher in Mets history. Maybe I'll be doing in 30 years an Alvarez example to God knows who, in 30 years. But if he could even have, I hate to say it because it's a stupid analogy, but half the career of Mike Piazza, I would still be super happy. If he could win Rookie of the Year, be an all-star 5 or 6 out of his 12, 13 years, hit for power, hit 300, 250 home runs, that would be incredible. But I just don't believe it's going to happen. So I'm saying, how can his price already be twice as much? Sometimes, in the PSA 10, 4 times as much. Sometimes with the parallels we're talking about, an unbelievable amount higher. We're talking about thousands of dollars. We're talking about some of these individual parallel cards selling for over $1,000. How is this sustainable in the long term, even if he has the same career as Mike Piazza? Even if he has a better one, how are these values sustainable long term? Hit me up in the comments. I want to know. I really want my mind changed on this, I guess, because I'm really not understanding it. And I'd love to have somebody give me a good reason why. These blue, basically anything blue. And he's also got on card autos selling for 200, So, I really want to know how you think that these values can sustain long term. But that's all I got for today. Thank you for watching. God bless.